Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to my beloved lecturer, Medium Hafizah binti Yaakob, and today my group will be present about inflation in Turkey. First of all, before I begin my presentation, I will introduce my group members, which is me, is Alia Haifah Hazwin, and second is Nur Adrina. We have Rabiatul Alawiyah, Harid Razin, Muhammad Ilham, and lastly is Faris Fakri. So I will start my introductions. The first one is persistent issue. Inflation in Turkey fluctuates due to internal economic policies, global supply chain disruption, and geopolitical tensions. So first, we have 3 points under this topic, which is internal economic policies, global supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical tensions. The first is the key monetary policy, fiscal decision and government interventions, and government impact inflation changes in interest rate, currency depreciation, and government spending can cause rapid shift in inflation causes. So, for second one is this disruption in global supply chains affect the cost and availability of goods leading to inflation. The key being an import-reliant economy for many goods and is particularly vulnerable to this global economic dynamics. For the second point, we have impact on the economy. The high inflation rates damage consumer purchasing power, elevate living costs, and create instability in financial markets. So for this one, the deliberation is they diminish consumer purchasing power, making it more difficult for people to afford goods and services and as prices rise. So this elevation in living costs can strain household budgets and reduce overall consumptions. Additionally, high inflation can create instability in financial markets. So as investors became uncertain about future returns and the value of their investment. So for the last point is policy responses. So effective economic policies including fiscal measures and monetary adjustment are critical for managing inflation and fostering sustainable economic growth in Turkey. So for this one, they have also 2 points for this policy response. For the first is government spending and investment. Second is tax policies. So under the government spending investment, we have another 2 points, which is infrastructure project and social spending. Which is infrastructure project is investing in infrastructure can stimulate economic growth by creating jobs and improving productivity. So for the social spending is targeted social programs can help reduce inequality and boost domestic consumptions. So for the tax policy, we also have 2 points, which is progressive taxation and tax incentive. So the under progressive is implementing progressive taxation can enjoy the fairer distribution of income generated revenue of public services. And the last one is the tax incentive, which is they are offering tax breaks for businesses, especially in key sectors like technology and manufacturing can encourage investment. Okay, I will pass to the next presenter.
Next, we move to background of the country. For geography, Turkey is located between Europe and Asia in the middle. It sharing borders with 8 countries. Its strategic location and makes it a vital bridge connection in Europe and Asia. For climate, in Turkey, coastal areas enjoy warm, dry summers and mild, also wet winters, while the eastern regions experience cold winters with heavy snowfall. For economy, the classification for economy is growing economy with middle income. It features a mix of public and private business. Tourism is a major contributor to the economy that brings a lot of money from visitors. For energy, working on using more renewable energy. And service sector growing in finance, healthcare and education. Next, we look at causes of inflation. Number 1, depreciation of the Turkish lira. First, the Turkish lira has lost value compared to currencies like the US dollar and euro. This makes imports more expensive since Turkey relies on imports for many goods. Higher costs lead to increased prices for products. Business raises prices to cover this cost, so it's causing inflation. Number 2, low interest rate policy. For this one, Turkey's central bank has set low interest rates to make loans cheaper. This encourages borrowing and spending, increasing the money in circulation. When many people buy goods and services at the same time, demand will rises. If supply cannot meet this demand, prices go up. For example, more people buying cars can lead to higher car prices. This policy also leads to higher wages as business expand and need more workers, further raising production costs and prices. We move to number 3, high energy prices. For this one, Turkey relies heavily on import energy. When global energy prices rise, it increases costs for business, especially in manufacturing, transportation, and services. This business then raise their prices to cover higher energy costs. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Fahil Fakri and I will present about inflation rate of Turkey. So this shows statistics the inflation rate in Turkey from 2014 and 2023. So let's go to the next slide. Next comment hub. So I want to explain the inflation between 2014 until 2017. So first, in 2014, inflation rate was 8.90%. Factors influencing inflation included exchange rate developments, tight monetary policy, and macro-prudential measures. So this reflects the annual percentage change in the cost to the average consumer of acquiring a basket of goods and services. So in 2015, inflation rate decreased to 7.70%, influenced by persistent inflation in the services sector and unfavorable food prices. So during that period, services sector inflation persisted and food prices followed an unfavorable cost. So this factor were the leading drivers of monthly prices increases. So in year 2016, the inflation rate slightly increased to 7.80% due to significant depreciation of the Turkish lira, driven by political instability and global economic factors. So the rate of inflation increased 0.01% from 2015, which is 7.70% to 7.80%. This depreciation was driven by a combination of political instability, security concerns, and global economic factors. A weaker lira increased the cost of imports, contributing to higher prices for goods and services. So, in 2017, inflation surged to 11.1%, attributed to the central bank's persistent interest rate policies amid political pressures. So the inflation has increased 3.3% from 2016, which is 7.80% to 11.1%. The Turkish central bank faced criticism for not acting decisively to control inflation. The reluctance to raise interest rates sufficiently to combat rising prices was influenced by political pressures. So I will pass to the next presenter, which is Faris Fakri. So I will continue the next slide. I will explain the inflation rate from 2018 to 2023. 2018, inflation rose sharply to 16.3%, driven by higher import prices, particularly for oil, leading to decreased purchasing power. And then 2019, the inflation decreased to 15.2%, aided by lower global oil prices, though remaining high and indicating ongoing economic challenges. While this factor contributes to a decrease in Turkey inflation trend in 2019 compared to the previous year, it's essential to note that inflation remained relatively high, indicating ongoing challenges in the economy. So 2020, inflation further decreased to 12.3% due to reduced consumer demand amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And 2021, inflation rose to 19.6% as economic activity resumed post-pandemic, affecting inflation calculation due to change comparison basis. In 2022, inflation skyrocketed to 72.3% due to unconventional monetary policies, including pressure to cut interest rates despite rising inflation, leading to currency depreciation and undermine investor confidence. The inflation rate increased by 52.7% between 2021 19.6% and 2022 7.3%. So lastly, 2023 inflation decreased to 53.9% as global energy prices stabilized, reducing cost pressures associated with energy imports. So I will pass this slide to the next presenter.
So in this slide, let's talk about Turkey's inflation challenge and fiscal response. So for the current situation, mid-2024, Turkey's inflation rate hit nearly 70% year-on-year in April. So this rate is exceptionally high compared to a global average. So what government do to reduce the inflation at Turkey? So a 3-year plan to reduce inflation by cutting public spending and expected savings 100 billion liras, which is equal $3.1 billion. So what the key action of government to reduce this inflation? So the key action is there is no new vehicles for civil servants, exceptions for essential service, reduced employment and travel expenses for civil servants, and third, suspended the constructions or purchase of public buildings, exceptions for safety, and lastly, budget cut across a public service, which is 10% for less for goods and service and 15% for less for investment. The government have a goals based on these actions. So first, redirect investment to productive sectors. Second, accelerate structural reforms. And third, major change in public financial management. So this action have a controversy. So the controversy is that critics argue from the central bank's lack of independence and interest rate policies are worsening the inflation. And second, President Erdogan, which is Prime Minister of Turkey, believe this measure would increase the inflation and expect improvement later in the year. So additional informations that policies and outcomes may change the new economics, events and decisions. And the success of these measures in tackling inflation and economic stability in under close watch globally. That's all from me, so I will pass for the next slide.
For my part is I will present about strategic thing of physical policy. There are two strategic thing of physical policy on this slide. The first one is the increases, and number two is government spending. So the first strategy is tax increases. Tax increases means government can stabilize price by reducing disposable income, restricting consumer spending, and lowering aggregate demand through tax increases. So, the effect of tax increases means raising tax may be essential for Turkey, which is suffering from ongoing inflation, in order to achieve financial stability. So, for example of tax increases, we know is consumption tax on essential goods and VAT value-added tax. So, I will explain about the consumption tax and the VAT. So, example of fiscal policy for controlling inflation and consumption tax of essential goods such as petroleum, alcohol and tobacco industry have seen frequent increase to excise tax from Turkish government. For example, Turkey increased the excise tax on tobacco and alcoholic in 2022. Certain tax increase mean to decrease demand to help manage inflation by reducing the consumption of certain goods which are frequently as non-essential. So the solution of inflation in Turkey in gradually raising VAT so that firms and consumers can make necessary change to their investment or spending plans. Raising tax rates on the wealthiest people will guarantee tax increase are distributed fairly, promoting social stability or combating inflation at the same time. So that's a part of tax increases. So the next one is government spending. The government spending means the government has ability to impact the total economic activity through the management of its spending. So, for example, of government spending is investment in infrastructure, healthcare, and education. So, on the other hand, government spending also going up instead to improve supply and production for the long run. For example, Turkey has made significant investment in movement networks and infrastructure projects like Istanbul Airport. So, for the education, is the government investment in education is another instead of target spending. Turkey has put policy into place to enhance the quality of education, promote access it. So, education is another instead of target spending. The goal of education to create workforce with ability which can boost economic development and productivity. So, on the other hand, to improve the supply and productivity for the long run. So, in conclusion of the strategic use of fiscal policy is cautious to use of tax rates or incentive to promote investment in particular industry that raise the supply productivity. On the other hand, is the several price encourage sustainable economic growth. The government modified tax rate on offer certain incentives. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Next, I will talk about recommendations. So the first point, which is we have tightening monetary policy. Raising interest rate can curb inflation by reducing borrowing and consumer spending, slowing economic activity, central bank independence based on economic data rather than political influence, ensure effective inflation control. So for this, raising interest rate is one tool central bank used to combat inflation. By making borrowing more expensive, it discourages excessive spending and investment, which can help cool down an overheating economy. Central bank independence is crucial because it allows policymaker to focus on economic data and long-term stability rather than short-term political consideration, thus enhancing their ability to effectively manage inflation. So the second one is fiscal discipline. The government should aim to reduce budget deficit, control public debt, and manage spending efficiently to prevent inflation caused by excessive money supply growth. So for this, lowering budget deficit by cutting wasteful spending and improving tax collection helps prevent excessive money supply growth, which can fuel inflation. So additionally, controlling public debt is crucial to avoid resorting to money printing to finance government spending, which can lead to inflationary pressures. By implementing prudent fiscal policies, government can contribute to overall economic stability and inflation control. Second and third is structural reforms. So for this, reducing production costs through policy that enhance productivity and competitiveness, coupled with effective education and training programs, can improve labor market efficiency, lower unemployment, stimulate economic growth, and lastly, help prevent inflation. So for this one, policy that aim to lower production costs can indeed result in lower prices for consumer. Boosting productivity and competitiveness in key economic sectors can help achieve this goal by reducing overhead and improving efficiency. So additionally, education and training programs that align skill with market demands can enhance labor market efficiency in reducing unemployment and fostering economic growth without necessarily leading to inflationary pressures. It's all about promoting a balanced approach that supports economic expansions while keeping inflation in check. Last but not least, we have exchange rate stabilization. Since accumulating foreign reserves stabilize the Turkish lira, lowering import inflation while managing capital flows, prevent currency depreciation and inflation rates. So for this one, indeed, building up foreign reserves can be crucial strategy for stabilizing the Turkish lira and reducing import inflation. A stable currency helps to keep import prices in check, which can alleviate inflationary pressures. Additionally, implementing policies to manage erratic capital flows can prevent excessive currency depreciations, which often contribute to inflation. So this might involve attracting steady, long-term investment or implementing capital controls to ensure stability in the currency markets. By taking this measure, policy market can help maintain economic stability and control inflation effectively. So that's true. Now come to the conclusion. As of 2024, Turkey faces a severe inflation crisis with rates around 69.8%, driven by past currency devaluation and high import costs. Despite a drastic interest rate hike to 42.5% in mid of 2023, inflation remains stubborn high, expected to decrease to 36% by 2024 from a peak of 65% in 2023. This has strained household finances and led to significant immigration of skilled workers, posing serious challenges to Turkey's economic stability. So for this, Turkey's persistent inflation, rooted in past monetary policies and exacerbated by rising costs across sectors, remains a pressing economic challenge. Despite aggressive interest rate hike by the central bank, the outlook for inflation remains high, leading a long-term concern for economic stability and contributing to brain drain as individuals seek opportunities elsewhere. So addressing this challenge will require sustained effort and innovative policies to stabilize policies, prices, and foster sustainable growth in Turkey economy. That's all from me. Thank you.